Hey everyone, this is Know Your Potential, NYP episode 6, and we'll be chatting about Tesla's Bitcoin investment, Dogecoin, Biden's stimulus package, and what this means for the future of the economy.
You're listening to Know Your Potential with David and Phil Ngo, your source for motivational insight and discussion of all things relating to business, technology, and life. We banter and interview like-minded individuals, striving to be the best version of themselves, generate value for society, and achieve the life they want to live.
Hey everyone, it's Phil Ngo here.
Hey everyone, this is David Ngo, and we've got big news for you. Probably the biggest news we've had about Bitcoin in quite a long time. I don't even know when was the last time we had such big, interesting news.
Yeah, I mean, Bitcoin is always slowly, steadily getting more attention and traction, but this is a big one, David.
well, it's been kind of building up, though. I feel like it's been building up. People have been kind of expecting it. People have been talking about it. There's been rumors. But again, nothing has been confirmed until this morning. When we woke up this morning, I think the price of Bitcoin was around 38,000. Announcement came out pretty much saying Tesla or Elon Musk has purchased $1.5 billion of Bitcoin in January. And the moment that news came out, the price of Bitcoin went from 38,000, shot all the way up to 45,000. Right now, it's went back down to trading around 43,000. But again, the news itself is incredible, insanely amazing for the cryptocurrency economy itself as a whole.
Yeah, this is amazing. I mean, I kind of had a little itch knowing that this was going to happen at some point because Michael Saylor of MicroStrategy was actually talking openly on Twitter with Elon Musk, and they were conversing through a Twitter thread conversation about how Michael Saylor was basically going to introduce him to his corporate playbook as to how to obtain a large amount of Bitcoin. And
this was about two months ago even, right? I think it's about 2 months ago they were talking about it.
Yeah, not too long ago. They were talking about it. So it was just a matter of time before Elon Musk started diversifying some of Tesla's treasuries into Bitcoin.
And again, to give a bit of context for anybody who doesn't know who Elon Musk is, which hopefully you guys all know who it is, Elon Musk is actually the richest person in the world now, right?
Yeah, I think he toppled over Jeff Bezos recently.
Yeah, he toppled over Jeff Bezos recently. So again, when the richest guy in the world says he believes in Bitcoin and he's buying Bitcoin now and he's invested $1.5 billion in it. Now, the next question is, who else is going to be coming up to bat next?
Yeah, I mean, MicroStrategy was one of the first, I think, of the Fortune 500s that were getting into Bitcoin. And now that he has this corporate playbook, which is basically this whole web page on the MicroStrategy site about how to what Bitcoin is and all the details as to all of his chats, helping to get companies on board with Bitcoin.
Yeah, exactly. So Michael Saylor, I guess, right now what he's trying to do is he's trying to clear the air of mystery as to what Bitcoin is, as to how and why corporate companies should also diversify their money or the investments into Bitcoin as well. So again, right now, there is a lot more interest in it than there was ever before, especially now that Tesla's come out with their $1.5 million purchase. And again, the question is kind of where does this take us next? And
right. Yeah, no, I mean, right now, the Bitcoin market cap is just slightly under the value of Tesla. So they're around about 800 billion USD right now, and Bitcoin is slowly catching up there.
You know what? Again, Bitcoin is still depends on how you look at it. You can still consider a small market cap, comparing it to gold and what it can potentially be. And again, with all these new interests, new investors, institutional investors coming in, the real question is what happens to Bitcoin and its prices in the next year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, how I've always seen it and looked at it.
Yeah, fun facts with Michael Saylor. I think he has close to about $1.4 billion of Bitcoin in his treasuries now. Tesla purchased $1.5 billion. However, because of the timing, with the Michael Saylor buying it much earlier than Elon Musk did, they probably spent close to the same amount of money, and Elon Musk probably only has half the amount of coins as Michael Saylor does.
What a few months difference can do in Bitcoin again, and this is where we're at right now. So Where is it going to be in 6 months after this news is broken out? It's anybody's guess. Which brings me to actually one of the next questions. A lot of people are pretty much jumping on to, cryptocurrency. First thing they say, hey, I see what's going on with Bitcoin. The price is too expensive, but I've heard about this other coin called Dogecoin, and it's currently at 7 cents. And is it a good investment to get into Dogecoin? I've had, I would say at least 10 people message me today asking about Dogecoin. And this is why I called Phil and told him, listen, Phil, we really have to do this episode today because I can't keep repeating myself as to why Dogecoin is not the same thing as Bitcoin. So here we are doing this episode.
Yeah. And before we even get there, it's important to make a disclaimer that, cryptocurrencies are very volatile and high risk. You should only spend money you are able to part ways with, basically. And obviously do your own research. And this is what we're going to hammer on you in regards to Dogecoin, because I'm sure like a good percentage of the people who have been messaging me only know of Dogecoin because of Elon Musk.
Yeah, you know what? Elon has really been pushing that, and it's boggled my mind too. I'm not sure if he's trolling people, if he really believes in it. I mean, even if he does, why did he just put in 150 billion to Bitcoin recently? So again, I really don't know what he's thinking, what's going through his mind, if he truly believes that Dogecoin is worth something in the future, or if it's just he likes the dog picture. I don't know.
Yeah. So like on crypto Twitter, which is a really good source of news, by the way, there have been a lot of criticisms actually of Elon Musk speaking very highly of Dogecoin and sort of memeing it, which in essence, really Dogecoin is a meme coin. Like it's very important for people to know that, when it started out as a joke, and it's always been a joke of a cryptocurrency in that sense. And having Elon Musk sort of tout it in a way is kind of irresponsible. Because at the end of the day, we don't know if he's trolling people. And if he is, like, the fact that it's not obvious to many people is pretty worrisome, because people are putting their money into something that they don't understand. And they're doing it just because Elon Musk is either seriously trying to push for Dogecoin, or he's completely joking with everyone and just misleading people to get into it.
So before we get into Dogecoin, let's have a quick reminder as to what the 5 critical properties of sound money is. We've spoken about this on episode 2 and 3, but as a reminder, right now what it is, the 5 critical properties are: 1, divisibility; 2, durability; 3, recognizability; 4, portability; and the last, and in my opinion, the most important, would be the scarcity aspect of the coin itself. So with the Dogecoin itself, Phil, does it fill all 5 criteria, or which one does it fill or not fill? Why don't you explain to us?
So it is a cryptocurrency. So it does fill a lot of the critical properties that, Bitcoin would. It's such as the divisibility, durability, recognizability, and portability aspect. But where it has a real big problem is with the scarcity aspect. So the thing is, when you look into all these different cryptocurrencies, it's very important for you to know that each one is built differently, in the sense that each one has different rules and different sort of economics behind the cryptocurrency. So you can think of Bitcoin as like a recipe, a perfect recipe of like the best looking, best tasting cake you could think of. And it just works very well because it fits all the properties of what makes a good cake. So when you look at these different cryptocurrencies, you really have to analyze the recipe and what it means for this cryptocurrency. So when you look at something like Dogecoin, I'll give you an example right now with Dogecoin. There's actually no supply cap with Dogecoin. So in essence, it has no limit.
Pretty much similar to the problem we're trying to solve right now with fiat itself.
Yes, exactly. So like there's an unlimited amount of Dogecoin in the sense that it'll keep growing. I believe it's 10,000 Dogecoin every minute. So the supply inflation is pretty large.
So 14.4 million per day is the amount that gets mined, with a total circulating right now of 127 billion circulating. Mm-hmm. So this supply will only keep increasing every single day, every single year, and never dwindling down ever at all. It doesn't burn. It doesn't. I don't know. The amount that gets mined every day is the same amount also. So again, this supply will only continually increase forever, technically, right? Is the idea behind Dogecoin.
Yeah, there's nothing in that recipe that basically limits Dogecoin's sort of inflation rate. So right now there's about 127 billion Dogecoins circulating. And the problem with this is, when you keep printing something into infinity, you're going to run into that same problem with fiat, because now you're just sort of printing out value out of nowhere in that sense. So that's really one of the big concerns coming out of something like that. And this is what we mean when you should do your own research, right? Like when you go and you pick a stock, the only reason why that stock is valuable is because the company that you're looking at makes money, and they have a limited supply of stock out there. I mean, theoretically, yes, they can keep issuing more, which will affect their price, but at the end of the day, there is a notional cap to it.
So people have been asking me pretty much, if not Dogecoin, what coin should I be investing in? I spoke to Phil briefly about this, and he really didn't want to be mentioning any coins. He didn't want us to come off looking like we're shilling coins or telling people to buy certain coins. So instead of doing that, Phil suggested that why don't we tell people what they should look into or compare, how they can compare coins if they want to decide to purchase one coin over the other. So we have a small list of a few things you should be looking at or trying to compare with when you're trying to compare one coin or the other coin. Phil, you want to go down the list?
Yeah, sure. So when you're looking into cryptocurrencies, it's always very important for you to understand what you are buying. And when we say that, we mean like actually understanding a lot of the crypto economics behind how the coin is, distributed, how it's minted, all that stuff. So one of them is obviously the utility aspect of it. So if the coin actually has no real utility, it doesn't really hold any value because no one's really using it for anything. So taking an example of Dogecoin, I don't know of a retailer that's accepting Dogecoin for anything. I'm not sure if you are. But at the end of the day, there's no sort of like utility or anything like that for having Dogecoin except, just holding it. So understanding like what this cryptocurrency is used for really gives it its value. So for Bitcoin, it would be the store of value, right? The other interesting thing to note is that there's some cryptocurrency projects that utilize coins as like a governance tool. So kind of like when you buy stocks, you have voting shares, right? So you're able to vote on the direction of the company and people into various positions of the company. So, obviously the more tokens that you have, the more influence you have on some of these proposals. So that's what also gives a coin some sort of value when you have an amount of these coins that will allow you to vote in favor of something. Another interesting point to note is the unlimited supply aspect of it, because if you can just keep printing into infinity, really what value does it have if you're holding on to it? It just sort of gets deflated over time, right? And the release schedule. So that's very important because then that helps you determine what the inflation rate is. That tells you how many more coins are coming out over a period of time. So you can determine, okay, is the inflation rate really a good thing for this coin? The other thing is when you look into projects that are going to basically allocate coins to certain funds when they release it, it's important to note how much is actually circulating, because you could create theoretically a cryptocurrency and say keep 50% of it to yourself. Now, what value does that have if I'm hoarding 50% of all these coins? And then the only tradable ones is the other 50%, when I can just go and sell my coins and really crash the market. So that's something important to note as well. And then the last thing that I have here on the list is the network adoption. So the network effect of a cryptocurrency is very, very important, because obviously if you don't have the people using it or developing on it, what value does this blockchain really have for people? So network adoption is actually one of the hardest things for any project to do. I'd argue even more important than the tech itself, because you can have all these great technologies, but at the end of the day, if no one's using it, it's practically useless, right?
No, you're absolutely right. So pretty much with everything you've said so far, again, it sounds like it's a lot of things that people have to look into or research, but the reality is, if you're going to be if you're planning on spending your thousands or tens of thousands of dollars investing into a certain coin, what is a few hours or half a day or a day or two of research? Because I'm assuming you spent more than a few hours or a few days to earn those thousands of dollars that you're saving and you want to invest in it right now. So definitely, guys, research is so important. Just because listening to someone tweet something or someone meme something and you hopping on board to buy that coin just because a lot of people are talking about it may not be the smartest or brightest thing. And you know what? If it goes down, you really have to pretty much say, I purchased this because I believe, when I initially purchased it, there was a reason for it, not just because other people are talking about it. Because at that point, when the price goes down, you really have to figure out, do you want to sell for a loss or are you going to hold on to it because you believe in the coin itself?
Right. I'll give you an example, David, with the Bitcoin quote unquote crashes that have happened over the years. Back in around 2013, 2014, you went to a high of like $1,200 a Bitcoin and it crashed all the way down to about $200 a Bitcoin. So for a lot of people who didn't understand what Bitcoin was and what they were buying, buying something at $1,200 and having it valued down to $200 in like a few months' time really worries the crap out of any investor at the end of the day, right? So if you didn't understand what you were buying, you thought, oh my God, Bitcoin's going to zero. This is garbage. This is, like I got scammed or something.
It's monopoly money.
It's monopoly money. So now I'm just going to get out of it. I'm going to sell it all, or I hope to break even. And then when I break even, I'm out of here. I'm never touching this stuff again. Well, the thing is, if you understood what you bought and you understood the economics, you understood the distribution, the utility, and everything of Bitcoin, does $200 a Bitcoin sound like a bad thing to you? Especially now coming, even to today. Like you can apply this same logic to 2017 when Bitcoin hit $20,000 and it went all the way down to $3,000 within like 1 year, which would also freak the crap out of any investor. By the end of the day, if you knew what you bought and you held on, or you even bought more at $3,000, holy crap, you're laughing to the bank right now. Like anybody who invested in 2017 is now making money.
So whether you're a smart or stupid investor, really all comes back down to at what point in time did you buy Bitcoin? Did you buy it when it was at its peak and dropping the 75% in the next, X amount of months? Or did you buy it when it was at the bottom and then it went up 400 or 500% in the next few months? So with all of this, it's just all about timing, really, right?
It's about timing, but a lot of it is also understanding, because if you understood what you were buying, then you wouldn't have freaked out as much as other people had and sold at like $3,000, right? So that's one of the most important things about before you buy a cryptocurrency. If you understand it well enough to say, okay, this has more value than what it's priced at right now, then you know what? Like you can sleep more soundly at night at the end of the day.
Yeah. And right now, so let's talk about the potential of it. There's stimulus money that's coming out soon. So let's talk about, again, all of that stuff is pretty much going to affect Bitcoin pricing and the way people are going to purchase it or not purchase it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's very interesting because Bitcoin has never gone through a time when there was such huge economic turmoil, because it came out in 2009, like after the 2008 financial crisis.
And the world has been beautiful completely from 2009 up till recently with the pandemic.
Yeah. So Bitcoin is really getting tested here in the sense of like, okay, it's sort of proven itself that it is a great store of value, and it's also a great inflation hedge to the money printing. Because when you keep printing money and you keep putting it into the supply, you're going to devalue everyone's currency. The Canadian dollars or the US dollars you're holding in your pocket, if they can just print it out of thin air, that's, you might as well buy Dogecoin at that point.
There's a lot of people doing that right now, Phil.
Right. Don't take that advice. I will disclaim that I was just joking there. But at the end of the day, like when you think of the logic, like it makes sense. If you have unlimited supply of something, what value does it have if they can keep printing it, right?
Oh, absolutely right.
Yeah. So like bringing the next big topic that just came in is the $1.9 trillion stimulus of the Biden administration. So they are looking to inject 1.9 trillion into the economy in various forms. One of the forms being a $1,400 top up to the $2,000 stimulus that was given to Americans of I believe it's like a specific income threshold.
Yeah.
So that's going to have a very, very interesting effect on Bitcoin and other hard assets, looking at it from a macroeconomic perspective. So basically, when it comes to this stimulus package, if you are injecting all this money into the hands of Americans, what does that mean for everyone else? Because at the end of the day, people who have money and are still getting the stimulus anyway are going to go out and spend it when all the lockdowns are basically gone and people are out freely spending their money. But then you also have people who are actually in need of this stimulus and have to pay off things like rent and to keep food on their table, which makes it very interesting because now you're going to have a bunch of people who have money and are getting more money. And then you got a bunch of poor people who actually need the money to pay off their debts. So by injecting this stimulus package into the economy, it almost feels like they are creating more of an economic disparity between people. I don't know if you see it that way, Dave.
No, honestly, I really do. So, I mean, again, like you totally mentioned, the rich keep getting richer, the poor keep getting poorer just because the people who don't have the money, when they're getting the stimulus, they are spending that on things they need, whereas the rich are taking that and reinvesting it into other ways, which are making them more money in the future, right? So, I mean, that's why this goes back down to one of the other questions people right now are asking me, and I'm sure that you've been getting a lot of these messages recently is, should I buy Bitcoin now? Is it too late that it went up so much, or what's going on, or what are you guys doing? And again, today I've had at least 10 messages from people asking me that. And the first thing I tell them, listen, buddy, I don't have a magic ball. And if I knew it was going to go up or down, I would put everything all in or sell everything myself. So right now, the reality is nobody in the world can really tell you, yes, it will for sure go up or it will for sure go down. This is all investment, gambling, if you want to call it that. But again, it really goes back down to whether you believe in the technology, whether you believe in where it's going to be in the future, whether you believe that there's going to be more people are coming in to purchase Bitcoin or looking to sell their Bitcoin. There's a lot of different variables as to the price of Bitcoin and whether it's going to go up and down.
Right. There's a huge difference when it comes to any sort of investing. There is a fundamental aspect to it of which you can evaluate and usually quantify. But then there's also a momentum aspect of it when it comes to emotion and psychology when it comes to markets, right? So at the end of the day, something can be fundamentally worthless, but still make a lot of money because people are piling in and joining the momentum. Case in point, Dogecoin, right? So you could also have the opposite effect where something is completely valuable on paper because they're generating revenues or whatever it may be. But at the same time, people are not valuing it properly because maybe they don't have good marketing or something like that.
So
there's no momentum there.
It all comes back down to sentiment pretty much, right? The valuation of any company per se, or any, let's say, crypto coin right now really goes back down to what people believe it's worth and how much they're willing to pay for it. So right now with, again, how I've seen it for the past a little while already, and I'm sure Phil also, is that, the price of Bitcoin is where it is today. The fact that Elon Musk and Tesla came out pretty much saying they purchased $1.5 billion of it, that adds a lot of credibility to Bitcoin and crypto itself. Now, I guess for me, which I've mentioned in the previous episode, is when do the other Fortune 500 companies hop onto it? So right now we're still waiting for, let's say, Amazon, Apple, Walmart, Google, Microsoft, just to name a few of these companies in the Fortune 500. Again, if they listen to Elon Musk and decide to allocate a small percentage of their funds into Bitcoin as well, what happens then? So anybody asking, am I too late now? Again, it's hard to say. Are you later than who is the question, right? Are you later than me? Yes, you are later than me. Are you later than Apple and Microsoft and Google and all those guys? No, you're not. So you kind of have to look at, are you trying to look at the price in the next few days, next few months? Or are you trying to look at the price of where it's going to be in the next 5 or 10 years? And I've always looked at it at the next 5, 10 years. So much so that, for me, I even told my wife, right now with all the Bitcoin that I have, if I never need to sell it, I don't mind holding on to it and just transferring that to the girls eventually when they get older, if I don't need to sell it. Just because, again, I strongly do believe that Bitcoin will be the crypto or the currency of the planet in the future. So that's why there's no reason for me to sell it. And people have asked me, are you selling it right now because it's gone to the all-time high? No, I haven't sold any. I don't believe Phil has sold any either. We're still holding on just because, again, this is the biggest news that's come out for Bitcoin since I don't know how long. And it doesn't make sense for me, at least, to sell right now when the richest man in the world is going to start influencing all the world's richest companies and people to also start purchasing Bitcoin. For me right now, it makes no sense why I'm going to sell when everyone else is trying to get in. How do you feel about this, Phil?
Right. At the end of the day, I think if you're skeptical about it, everybody's different. Everybody has their own risk tolerance and how to diversify their portfolios. So what I would obviously say to people is like, don't dismiss it, obviously, because there obviously is something here from the performance of this year and last year alone. It's not something to be ignored, but it's a matter of like, am I going to mortgage my house and like put all the money into Bitcoin? Well, you know what? That completely depends on your own risk assessment as to how much you want to leverage yourself to get into Bitcoin. And everyone's going to have a different variation of what their risk tolerance is. But, you can always attribute different investment strategies to getting into Bitcoin. You can do like dollar cost averaging, for example, where you basically buy a little bit here. You have your like a $5,000 pool of money. You put $1,000 here. If you think it's going to go down, if it goes down, put in your other $1,000, and then just keep sort of bringing down your cost average, right? So that you can get more Bitcoin for a lower price if you think it's going down. But at the end of the day, it's really hard to say, how much money you should put into Bitcoin. That is completely different for everyone's situation. But if you basically see potential in all of these companies starting to diversify their treasuries into Bitcoin, and generally through the test of time, and also knowing about how Bitcoin works from our previous episodes, if you think that over time, say like in the next 4 or 5 years, after the next Bitcoin halving cycle, it's going to go up, then you know what? Allocate a sprinkle a little here, sprinkle a little there, and have fun with it.
And again, we're looking at this on a long timeline, 5, 10, 20 years. And that's why for me, I'm not in a rush to sell. I'm just going to keep waiting till everyone else keeps buying it, everyone keeps investing. And then when I eventually do need to sell any for other investments or anything along those lines, I will. I'm not afraid to sell it. But at the moment, I just see that there's a lot more potential and potential growth coming up in the next few years. And I'm going to try to hold on to as much Bitcoin as I can until I need to really sell it.
Yeah. Speaking of selling, David, fun fact, if you had gotten your $1,200 stimulus check in April of 2020, the very first one that the Trump administration gave out, there is a Twitter that actually tracks how much it's worth now if you had bought Bitcoin at that time. So if you spent $1,200 into Bitcoin when you got your stimulus check, your stash is worth, I think it was about $8,000. Let me double check here. It's worth $7,809 as of right now.
So it's pretty much since April, it's gone about 600%, give or take.
Yeah, it's about 551%.
That's
if
insane.
You had if that's what you did with your $1,200 stimulus check.
So now the question is, with the other 1,400 coming in, how much is that going to be worth in the next, I guess 8 months is what it is, right?
Yeah. I guess a lot of like investor portfolios like to say that past performances don't necessarily attribute to the future. Yeah, cool. So knowing this, hopefully we've answered everybody's questions that they've had about Dogecoin and Bitcoin, stuff like that. I'm actually going to post in the show notes that Twitter, but also a really good video from Michael Saylor's Bitcoin conference that he had recently. There's a bunch of videos there that explain a lot about Bitcoin as to how he's trying to sell it to these other Fortune 500 companies. So that will also be in the show notes if you want to watch any of those videos. I highly, highly recommend you watch the one with Ross Stevens from an alternative asset management company. It explains absolutely everything you need to know.
And again, guys, please take the time to look, watch some of these videos, read a little bit more, just because you can learn so much more from there yourselves. than just randomly sending a message to Phil or I about one question here, one question there, because those one questions Phil and I are answering are not going to be able to really give you a proper idea or picture of whether you should invest or not invest. And for Phil and I, we never want to tell people what to do. It's just one of those, do your research, guys. And we love to share all the information and the reasons why we choose to keep Bitcoin or buy Bitcoin, and not sell it. So again, we just want to give you guys that same information, and for you guys to make your own decision from there.
Right. There's so much great content out there. Not to say don't listen to our podcast, but at the end of the day, we only have 30 to 45 minutes each episode, and it's impossible for us to actually explain everything to you. But there's a bunch of even smarter people who have already done everything that we're basically telling you. And you can go listen to their videos or watch their videos, listen to their podcasts included in your drive. And that's pretty much it. So thanks everyone for listening to this episode here. We're going to be back Thursday with an episode with Hungry Diana,
or also known as the Queen of Dumpling.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks everyone for listening. Remember to check out knowyourpotential.com for all of our social links, and we'll see you online. Take care,
Thank you
everyone.
for listening. And again, happy investing. Be smart about it.